This is food for thought, where meat fuels the mind and truth feeds the body. Carnivore mode activated. Carnivore mode. Activated. Activated.
If you're not boiling your steak, you're doing it wrong. Go ahead and try this healthy one-pot steak dinner. Get your sirloin in a pot of boiling water until it's nice and cooked.
The horror. The humanity. So think of the children. How could you do this? This animal gave the ultimate sacrifice and you desecrate it by boiling it? All you had to do was introduce it to a high-heat sauce, add a little bit of salt, maybe some butter, and the animal would have done the rest. But no, you do this. And then you place it on the internet and celebrate it like it's some sort of culinary masterpiece. Good sir, I do hope you understand that there is a special place in Hades for you. You will be earning the grill marks on your backside for the rest of eternity. And children, do not follow this path of wayward ways, for this is not the way. Should you choose to do so, you will end up a lonely soul with no friends, none at all. I can't believe what I'm seeing these days.
of the guessing games, faking health, playing diet names, low fat life, vegan soul, but deep inside I didn't feel whole. Then came fire, then came fat, steak on the plate, I bounced right back. No more crashing, no more drag, just eggs and butter in my bag. Meat made me whole, yeah, you know it's true. Brought me back to what I always knew. Meat made me whole, now I feel alive. Give me that steak and watch me thrive. Refill the brain, reset the gut, say goodbye to the low-fat blood. Meat made me whole.
And we're live today, boys. How are we doing? We've got some things lined up. I just wanted to say thanks and a shout out. And I want everybody that's tuning in or going to listen on the replay on the not live, check out Byron Funk at Carnivore Beats on YouTube. It's Carnivore Beats YT. And subscribe to his channel. He's making some beats. He's going to help us out with some music. And you might have noticed the new intro, boys. That's Byron. And just so you know, he's one of us. And go check out on, I don't know if it's on Peter's channel, but on my channel, we did an interview with him a couple weeks ago, and his story is quite phenomenal as well. And we thank you, Byron. And the music is great. His tracks are insane on TikTok. It's Carnivore Beats. This is Sunday. This is the meat of the matter. That is Mark. He is Peter. I am Tony. We are meeting up and talking all things health, nutrition, carnivore. How are we doing today, guys?
I'm doing great.
I'm doing well. Great. Thanks for asking.
Well, I think today we, if you guys noticed, we just did a little slideshow just to prime people for that algorithm. We're learning the ropes here, boys. We're getting things in order and evolving every week. I think we're getting a little bit more into it, and I want to open it up today and just say, we do appreciate your comments and your questions. At any time you feel like saying hi, thank you. We do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, share this with people. We're trying to get this meat message out there. And, talking about that today, guys, we're going to start. We got a great write that down episode today, Mark. I'm excited to hear it because there's some pure ridiculousness coming up. But I wanted to start today with gut health, I.B.S, celiac, Crohn's, all these gut issues that, seem to be running rampant in our lives. I mean, when I was a kid, I never heard of celiac. I didn't, maybe some people had some, diarrhea or some issues. But once again, that I.B.S label, like essential hypertension or idiopathic whatever, dermatitis is a loose term for what's wrong. And let's just kick it off. Peter, we'll start with you, man. What's your thoughts on all this gut, with all the gut problems in the world?
Well, my health journey sort of started with the whole idea of having celiac disease. And of course, it has to be formally diagnosed with a bowel, how do you call it in English? A biopsy.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't want to take that. And I did have colonoscopy and that sort of things. Nothing was wrong. And I did some antibody tests. And of course, I didn't get all of them, just like 2 out of 4. And meanwhile, I had all kinds of symptoms related to the gluten. That was very clear. I eliminated it from my diet. And for years, it improved things. It was before my diabetes, and everything was fine. And then later on, things came along with this celiac disease, because common medicine does agree with us that all these autoimmune diseases are related to each other. So on top of that, I got diabetes and that sort of things. But personally, I think that there is a whole range of degree severities of celiac disease. Most people will not perfectly tolerate gluten anyway. Some people might be able to tolerate it. And some people get severe reactions, and then it's labeled as celiac disease. And probably there is some difference, that if you take a biopsy, that you will indeed find some specific things there that will distinguish it from people with not real celiac disease, but still gluten intolerance. I mean, that's also gradually starts to be accepted in the medical literature. This non-celiac gluten sensitivity.
Yeah. No. Mark, what do you think? Like, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I was the same. I struggled with my gut issues for a very, very long time. I always had issues with my stomach, and I always tried to get it right. And I always used to think I used to have an allergy, and I always thought I had a gluten allergy. So I went down the same route as everybody else. I just went into the shops and just fell for the trap and said, right, okay, just eat gluten-free food. That'll fix the issues.
We just lost Mark. I think we got the Irish curse here. We got the Irish curse internet. We just got kicked out. Sorry, buddy. Go on. You were talking about.
Am I back?
You're back. You're back. Yeah. Sorry, you were just in the middle of your gluten tolerance stuff.
Yeah, so I suffered with a gluten allergy for a very, very long time. And I fell into the trap where you just go into shops, you buy all this gluten-free food. And I did it for a very, very long time. Spent a fortune on it. And it worked. Don't get me wrong, it did work, but it didn't work for very, very long.
Yeah.
And most of it was all carbohydrate based.
No doubt.
And then I realized when I actually got into the carnivore space and I just eliminated it altogether, I was like, holy shit, like, and we also realized that like 50 years ago, this didn't even exist.
Yeah.
We never even heard about these allergies.
Yeah, well, it did exist
in the last 20, 50 years.
Yeah.
It did exist in very severe cases, like probably 0.5% of people or so would have real celiac disease and strong response. And I can believe that in those cases, maybe it's the actual gluten, but I find the question on the screen also very interesting. It could very well be related to all kinds of substances in the food, maybe also hybridization of the grain and that sort of things.
Well, I think, Peter, what you're saying makes sense. And the glyphosate, it's like the chicken and egg thing, because the glyphosate is needed for the GMO crops. The GMO crops are genetically modified, which has been proven now. The gluten content of dwarf wheat, especially in North America, is higher. So everybody's somewhat gluten sensitive. And I would, if anybody wants to know a little bit more about that, Paul Mason did a great talk about that and how showing the reaction to the gluten and the insulin. Now, it happens to everybody. Some people are a lot more, sensitive to it. And I think the problem is we chase our tails in trying to figure out what is what. And when it comes down to it, if you eliminate grains, all of this gets better. And the carbohydrates with the gluten, the celiac. I mean, I've had friends that are celiac, and some soy sauce would drive them like their guts crazy. I mean, I think it's everywhere. And I think, to be like, what my opinion is it's our modern day farming practices and our modern day food pyramid urge to 6 to 11 servings of grains is going to create a whole bunch of havoc. If you're listening to the food pyramid, you're going to be consuming these things and your gut's going to get irritated, let alone broken. And I think that's the other thing about this irritable bowel syndrome. Label, it's so general that, you're coming from a broken gut, and it's all gonna ramp up all these other things, when it leads to Crohn's disease, diverticulitis, or losis. And all of that is stemmed from leaky gut, and it's broken from the GMO grains, corns, wheat, and soy. And one thing that I've found is, we talk about microbiome so much, fiber, diverse microbiome, but we're forgetting the foundations of the gut stability and how the gut is built. And, when you're eating moderate to not adequate protein and then feeding the gut all this irritable stuff, it's driving this whole cycle forward, which I think it's all, when we look at a carnivore diet and an animal-based diet, you eliminate all that stuff. You eliminate the stuff that's irritating it. You're getting the protein to build back the actual, the intestinal lining better. and then you're having loose movements, more comfortable ball movements. So it's kind of all, brought into this. And, I have so many people, I want to get your take on this, that come to me and they say, I have I.B.S, but then also report pain. They say, I've got like some kind of chronic inflammatory pain, and it's 100% gut related. And when you say, what do you eat for breakfast? And they say oatmeal, and you say, try cutting out the oatmeal, they say that's not the problem. And it's wild. And I mean,
it's crazy.
It's also what I discovered while I was thinking I was just celiac. I started eliminating oats indeed. And there are some ideas in the literature that oats contain certain proteins that are similar to gluten. And yeah, well, in fact, that's the whole idea. And with a lot of anti-nutrients, they are basically similar to gluten, all of them. Yeah. They destroy the gut lining if you're a bit unlucky. And then, of course, the whole protection falls away, and you can get autoimmune issues at the place itself, but also in the entire body, because I wouldn't be surprised if even type 1 diabetes is caused in such a way. I mean, it could also be a virus or something like that. Could be vaccines even. I'm not making any statements about that, but those things could play a role. Those substances are all there, and you don't need them. That's the whole point. I mean, you don't need them. And talking about gut microbiome with carnivores, it's perfectly all right. I've seen several examples online of people sending their poop to a lab, and it's all fine. I think Dante Ferrigno from Ferrigno Freedom is a good example. He had perfect results. And recently I saw a video, I think it was from on Nick Norwich it was. He talked a bit about it as well, and I agree with his ideas that the gut microbiome is just a result of your health status and your diet. And also just a totally different thing, but the gut microbiome starts here. Here on your skin. Then your mouth. I mean, your colon is just an extension of your mouth, basically. It's the exterior of your body. And you shouldn't be worried about getting microbiome there, because you'll get it anyway. Bacteria are everywhere, and once they are in the gut, you don't need fiber. I also don't need fiber in my mouth to create a gut microbiome. So I think that's all.
You don't need fiber on your skin either, right? Like, I mean, just hand sanitizer.
And I mean, it's all nice, a diverse microbiome, but I think that's just a projection of the whole idea that variety is good. And you have it anyway on carnivore. You still have a varied microbiome.
And just to sort of I hear you, Peter. And you know what's funny is that we talk about these things that are non-essential: carbohydrates, grains, fiber. And even, Stephen Gundry, his book, The Plant Paradox, explains lectins, which, if anybody doesn't know, gluten is probably the most known lectin. So he says, okay, lectins are bad, so cook your vegetables or whatever you do to process them to reduce the harm they're doing, or you can just cut them out. And hey, there you go. Why are we trying to make these, okay, I'm not saying never eat these things, but when we look at it from an essential nutrient standpoint, if you don't need them and you have a severe problem or something caused by them, cut them out. They're not essential. So I find that's that wheel that everybody gets lost in. It's like, if you want to solve the problem, eliminate the thing that's causing it. It doesn't matter if it's a softer lectin, it's still there. And I think it's gluten sensitivity is the most common one that people don't realize. When we say lectins, people are like, bullshit, anti-nutrients. Gluten is a lectin. It's a protein found in wheat and products that disrupts us. We're not supposed to digest it. It's clear. But when we talk like that, people go, no. We just need to eat less of it because why?
Oh, yeah. Or they'll tell you that lectins are antioxidants. And I don't know, I'm not an expert on it, but maybe you have an opinion, Tony or Mark. But I think, and this, I'm just thinking, I'm not an expert, that antioxidants in plants work in such a way that they activate certain pathways in the body, basically the cleaning up pathways. And so the actual substances are not necessarily good. They just activate the pathway, and yeah, then you can call it an antioxidant. But most substances are both anti and pro-oxidants anyway. It all depends on the context.
Exactly. And I mean, when something's inducing an antioxidant response in our bodies, and here's the thing, like if anybody doesn't know what glutathione is, that's our master antioxidant in our body. We produce it. And we need glycine, we need acetylcysteine, we need certain things to be present. And it's kind of funny how all these things are made from amino acids. And when we're eating low to moderate protein, you may not be getting the right amino acids to create these antioxidants. And I mean, there's a lot of them. We have, like uric acid. People freak out about uric acid, but there's a purpose for it in our bodies. There's a reason for this. And I mean, when we're coming down to gluten, what a lot of people don't realize as well is there's two sides to that thing in wheat, where it's gluten, and there's another one called gliadin, which I don't know if they test or not, but those two can cause the same kind of reaction. But quite often the people that are diagnosed, which we're not doctors and scientists, we're not diagnosing anybody, but there's that gliadin side of I believe it's another lectin in wheat that can cause the same problems that gluten can, but we don't test for it. So that's where all of a sudden you've got irritable. They don't know when people have irritable bowel syndrome. It's in my opinion that's just we don't know what's wrong with you. Here's what you have. It's like it's like, yeah, you got shitty guts. You're broken. It's too bad for you. Your genetics are weak, and you're a shitty human, which I do not agree with. I don't know. How's your internet? Are you here, Mark? Mark? He's good. Is he back? We got the international.
I'm back now. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Oh, it's horrendous.
And I think that's it's always these, when people are finding it's unbelievable how when you try and explain this to somebody that they just can't believe that it's their diet. It's what they're eating. And it's like, it makes in my, it makes sense to me. Your gut, your digestion is 100% reacting to what you're eating. I mean, I don't understand where even doctors, they're like, well, there's not much you can do about it. Like, what are you talking about? And I don't know what you guys think about that. But
yeah, well, it's like sports injuries. I mean, you can have muscle soreness or joint pain from sports, and it's like not thinking about maybe I'm doing something wrong. That's how I feel.
And I mean, it's chronic systemic inflammation, and I mean, it's gonna heighten everything, right? Like anything gets sort of accentuated and brought to the forefront when you're inflamed, and I think that ties right back into our gut. And I don't know what you guys think about it, but that's something that you kind of have the plant-based community. They're right in one aspect, that it is the microbiome, everything's to do with the microbiome, but how how your gut is working with your microbiome, that's where we all, us being carnivores, are on a completely different path. And I mean, how much weight do you hold about gut with your clients, Mark? Like, what do you talk about? Do you get into details, or you basically say like, this is what it is?
This is what it is. We don't focus. We don't focus on weight at all.
Yeah.
Never even comes into the conversation.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel for you, because like some people, when it's funny how they ask why, or when you have a difference of opinion and then they don't believe it or they don't try it. It's like, man, if you stop eating the rice, and I'm sorry guys, I tried to get this stat, but I couldn't get it properly done. But now you look at these things, and I want to know what you guys think about this, because we always hear this. Well, Asians eat rice, Indians eat rice. We have all that. Why is India the type 2 diabetes capital or leading country in the world now? What's the difference? If their diet foundationally hasn't changed, but the things we do have, what's the difference now? So I don't know what you guys. And I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to, obviously Western practices. Like, I mean, do you think how do you feel about fat causing harm or being unable to digest? because that's something that comes up a lot too. We're not supposed to have it.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's,
Well, you know, like the low fat people, they'll say like too much fat is bad, and
but also in terms of digestion, you mean?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I mean the argument with fat is people will say if you eat too much fat, it's going to clog your arteries, it's going to fill up your bowels. You're not going to be able to digest it properly. All this rubbish. It's actually the opposite. What's actually causing the problems is like what Tony said. Like when you're eating all these grains, you're eating all these vegetables, you're eating all these fibers. That's what's actually clogging up the bowels. That's what's having the impact on your gut. It has nothing to do with fats. If you're eating fats with vegetables and you're eating fats with like carbohydrates and craps, then yes, you're gonna have issues with your guts. But if you're eating it on its own, all three of us can tell you out straight, we have no issues with our bowel movements whatsoever.
Yeah. Let me tell you what I ate today so far. I didn't have a meal yet. I had 300 grams of bacon fat, so not the bacon, but really the fat and the skin, and butter. So it probably is like 300 grams of fat alone today, and it works. But I never heard this whole story about fat clogging up your bowels. I always make the joke like before your arteries, it will clog up your bowels if anything. But
just think about that logic, though, Peter. This is what people think. Like I even on a slide earlier, it's like, you know, if you eat bacon grease, it clogs your arteries, because we all know, like, saturated fat in room temperature is solid. Well, have you tested your internal thermal temperature? Yeah, you're not at room temperature, okay? So that right there, if it's clogging your arteries, well, if it gets down into your bowels, it must be clogging that up too. It's like, and I'm telling you, like us being carnivores, if you've ever overindulged in liquid fat and you've had a fun movement, like it ain't gonna be hanging around too long, man. It's pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah.
You know,
but yeah. It can be a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if your gallbladder is not working very well on a vegetarian diet, then and you do some studies on it and you just ignore that fact, or you assume that is the standard. Because if the entire society is on a, let's say, plant-based diet, mixed diet or whatever, their gallbladders will be at lower activity, basically.
Sluggish.
And start to increase the fat, and obviously it will cause a problem. Just like for us, if we start to eat carbohydrates, I can see it immediately. The first few days, I would have serious troubles at managing my blood glucose. I would feel horrible, fatigued, and all these things. Same with coffee, by the way. Just as a side note,
I'm stopping. This is it. This is the last sip, Peter. I'm doing it. I'm like, I've done my little N of one. Like, throw it all on the table. I'm like, you know what? It's got to go. I got to try it. And I got to try it for a significant amount of time. So I'm announcing this is it. We're doing this last.
That's we'll see. We'll see
how it goes. Yeah, I'm doing it. Now I have to. Now I'm accountable. I have to do it.
I'll make a confession. I had a guest, and I drank 1 cup of coffee, and he left the package of coffee. So for 2-3 days, I drank a little bit of coffee.
That's it.
But I was not tempted immediately. So it was not like in the morning I grabbed for the coffee immediately. So that tells me that I'm not addicted.
Good.
But it did have serious effects. The first cup of coffee was fine. But when I started to make coffee with butter, so that's nice. And since we're talking about fat, I noticed that it totally went to the wrong place.
I'm the same. When I used to drink coffee, it used to blow me up like a balloon. My stomach was in bits. Like I'd have a few sips and I'd be like, oh my god, my digestive system is in bits.
Well,
and that's the only reason why I can't drink it. I can't drink it because of that reason. It floats me. I have no energy after.
And you're looking at it from an N of one. Like, you got to put it on the table. It's not personal, whether you like it or not. This is the difference between a lot of people, and that's kind of where I came to this. Is, you know, I feel pretty good, but I do notice a difference with different coffees and different qualities, and what that tells me is that it does affect you. So now I'm like, okay, well, let's not just for 7 days. Let's cut it out and see what happens and give it time, because I'm pretty sure I will feel the difference. And oh well, thank you, Jiffy. Right on, man. That's cool. Before we get back into this, we do appreciate the comments. If anybody has a question, you want to get involved, please just drop it in there. We like to engage. We're all about everybody, and
just no more questions about coffee. Because
we're gonna do a show. We'll do a show about coffee because it's really fascinating stuff. But anyway, getting back to the gut, a lot of times I think we overcomplicate this shit. Like, it's very simple. Stop eating the stuff that's causing harm. And if you can get off your own horse and say, okay, it's possible that this stuff is causing harm, because that's what they did. Well, there's no way though. Rice isn't the problem. Well, maybe it is, and it's so funny how people just, they don't, I don't know what it is, but they don't want to hear about it. And I think that's the problem. We get the pushback to the carnivore way is that they think like it's what, 1 million people now are just like miraculously genetically gifted. Like we're the 144,000 biblical people that are just magically healing in their late lives. Like what, you know what I mean? And it's so simple, staring you right in the face, but that's the hardest part. And now we're looking at more problems now with the sugar diet thing that's going nuts. And I mean, I don't really want to get too much into that, but I mean, that has nothing to do with health, people. Nothing to do with health. And I've found that sugar is going to cause a whole bunch of other problems as well, like GERD, acid reflux. And if I ate sugar, I bet you the coffee that I'm drinking would cause that stuff. And it's like one giant tube, and I think we can all like agree that meat is the gentlest for your digestion. It's the easiest. How are you? Okay, let's talk some shit. How are your guys' movements?
Oh, yeah.
No issues whatsoever.
Fine.
No issues whatsoever.
Okay.
No issues at all.
How long does it take you to have a move? I really just want to like open it up here, but how long does it take to have a shit, Mark? How long are you spending on your bathroom breaks?
I'm in and out within like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Can't beat that, but
10 seconds. I open the door, I go to the toilet, and I'm back out just as quick.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, let's say a short minute or so with everything included.
Okay, we got some homework, boys. Next movement we have, we're going to time it, and I want to see the numbers. No, I'm kidding. No, but it's quite interesting because I know people that like not only do they have like 5 or 6 breaks.
I just want to add as well. I don't go every day.
Yeah.
Like I'll go probably once every 3 days.
Yeah. I usually go every day, but today I didn't yesterday, and it's like I don't worry about it. And for everybody that's wondering what is going on with this, I'm kind of, in my opinion, it's if things are happening constantly, worry about it. If it's different, if it's a pale color or something's wrong with, like, it looks off for a long period of time, but 1 or 2, like if you have diarrhea one day, you know what? It's probably just something that was involved. It's not, but if you're having chronic diarrhea, definitely be concerned. I mean, that's not good. But I mean, as far as movements go, mine are pretty small, pretty quick, and very, I'm either completely regular, and it depends on what I ate, and it depends on the meal timing. Sometimes when I eat twice,
and it's not forced either. I never force it out.
Yeah, that's it, Lambs. I agree. I can read half a magazine. I know people that spend 20, 25 minutes on the toilet. And if you look at that, that's like once or twice a day they're going. And look at the time. So another side benefit of this carnivore way of eating that's crazy and ridiculous, we spend less time on the toilet. I don't spend time, man. It's easy. It's not forced. It's just like, meh. And now I understand why people started putting magazines in the bathroom. Well, I'll tell you what. I bet you no magazine publishers are carnivores because they'd be losing their money, right? Like, there's not a chance. because I just don't spend any time in there. And how are your guys' movements out there in food in Meat of the Matterland comments? Tell us how your shit is. Like it's, it's the
No,
most it's the funnest topic to talk about. That's yeah. Anyway,
yeah,
it's,
let me add one thing is that I did have constipation a few times, but that's in a very specific situation. That is when you eat too much cheese,
Hey.
and that is and it's a lot. I mean, it's not like 50 grams of cheese, but you'll need to eat a little bit more without other foods.
yeah.
And of course, on a standard diet, I wouldn't have the problem because that's one benefit of fiber, but it's contextual, because if you are eating cheese and you would add fiber,
Yeah.
then of course it gets pushed out and it gets mixed in with the rest of the food, so you will have less chance of constipation. But on a carnivore diet, which is nutrient dense, if you start to add half a pound of cheese, of course, yeah, that can be problematic if you're sensitive to it, and for me that's the case.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's a thing too, where people wonder, I think there's a lot of this is the gray where people like choose to keep dairy or don't eat dairy. But I think cheese is one of those things that if you're eating it like a meal, it could be a very big problem. I mean, if you're putting a little cheese on your eggs or, kind of accompanying something with a little cheese, I mean, I think it's very nuanced and personal. I think a lot of people have to make that decision because, when you look at the science behind it, the pathway, the cheese is addictive. It's possible that could be keeping up an addictive quality as opposed to a just, and that's where I think everybody needs to realize like their own way is important. And if you don't take it personal, then you're going to figure it out pretty quick. I mean, no too much fat. Guess where I'm at? I love it. That should be a t-shirt right there. Get too much fat. Like I'm the same way. If I eat too much liquid fat, woo, because sometimes with the bone broth, you try and you get it like the fat floats and then you get a nice little stir in there and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, and we're talking minutes, man. Holy crap. And no pun intended. But yeah, it's interesting how these things, and I think a lot of times we get so put into boxes where, oh yeah, it's okay to eat cheese on a carnivore diet. I think we forget that all of our diets are our own, experiences. I mean, certain things are going to be more impactful than others. And I think it's very nuanced.
Yeah, and with cheese is a good example, because for many people, eating cheese is a few slices of cheese on top of their burger patty. For me, it isn't, because for me, eating cheese, a slice of cheese, I don't even think about it. For me, eating cheese is close to half a pound a day, and then you'll get different effects.
And for the record, just so you know, Mark, I eat. Of course, his internet goes when I'm trying to talk to him, which is funny as hell. Just so you know, Mark, the funny thing is about cheese is I can get Kerrygold Dubliner cheese. That's my favorite cheese. But I can't get any bloody butter in Canada, which is like, I don't understand. Same company, same country. Yeah, Canada's a bunch of shit, right? Like just Kerrygold butter. It's that's something that I don't understand it. I just go 2 minutes across the line. I can pick it up in the States, but I can't buy it here. It's ridiculous. So if anybody, I don't know. This we're gonna have to solve this butter problem. I mean, I love Kerrygold butter, and it's funny watching all the people, ooh, Kerrygold, and I'm just like, oh, Canada.
Well, I've got some butter that's way better than Kerrygold.
Oh,
really, I never buy it. So
yeah, you did a big video, Peter, about butter. Like you did a big butter sampling. That was funny.
Yeah, no, you really have to source it locally. You'll also in your neighborhood, I think you'll get some really good stuff.
Yeah, well, that's a shout out to anybody that's listening that's local. If any Canadian local farms wanna, well, I'm gonna start searching out some stuff, like not just for beef but for dairy too, because you know what? I mean, it's okay. Well, we can talk about that with microbiome. Let's look at that. Actually, let's tie this back in before we get into write this down. I got a couple things to talk about. But why is it that look at the ingredient list and they say you have I.B.S. and then they say, okay, raw dairy is bad for you? What are your guys' feelings about that? Who wants to go first? Raw dairy is bad and poisonous and it's going to just cause rampant harm. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, they're not looking at the pasteurized stuff, are they? There's the problem right there.
Interesting. Yeah. And Peter,
The
what do you think?
pasteurized.
Yeah, well, you can guess my opinion because I drink a lot of raw milk. Well, a lot, but I drink raw milk. A lot of the butter is raw butter. It's already a different story, yeah, because it's processed in a way so that it's considered safer. But yeah, it all ties into the gut microbiome. I think it's really good to eat raw butter because pasteurization sounds very nice, right? At 65 degrees Celsius, you kill off all the bad bacteria and all the good ones survive. No, I wouldn't say so.
No.
And those things are not tested for, because when they say like, oh, it's the same pasteurized versus milk, yeah, they probably look at protein contents, the fat contents, and obviously that will stay the same.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's important stuff that you'll get from milk.
Yeah. And I mean, I this is what blows my mind is if we're talking about microbiome in kids, they're eating goldfish, fish crackers, Kraft dinner, and all those other nice, delicious treats that are just, easy for parents to give their children. Yet in Canada, if you sell raw dairy, you could possibly go to jail because it's poison. And it's like, oh man. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then the mainstream, like most people out there think they don't look into this seriously enough. Like pasteurization is not good. I mean, it's for what it's doing. I mean, I think that's where we with vitamins and fortification in general, we take care of the small possibilities and forget about the big picture. I mean,
yeah, and then there could be maybe specific situations where it's a good idea. I'm just thinking up loud. If you have a compromised immune system in a hospital setting, infants, maybe if you take cow dairy in the raw form, maybe that's not the best. But yeah, of course, there is just the breast milk.
Yeah,
that sort of considerations you can make, of course. But another thing is that pasteurization, well, when was it invented? Louis Pasteur, I think probably end of the 19th century or maybe beginning 20th.
No doubt.
It's a totally different situation in which milk is transported in a very different way, and also hygiene standards and the hygiene standards, but also the lab checks. I mean, nowadays, if each batch of milk probably is tested, the same with eggs, they are tested for salmonella, and you basically don't find salmonella. So it's a totally different situation. And then, of course, you can stick to the idea that pasteurization will prevent the extreme cases of food poisoning, but probably they wouldn't happen anyway because we have all these elevated standards nowadays.
No doubt. And everybody's gut was functioning properly. We would be a little bit more resilient to all these pathogens, right? Go figure. And you know what's funny? In where I'm from, they had this egg problem. They had an egg recall. They recalled a whole bunch of eggs. I was like, brilliant. I'll buy them all. I'll eat them. Like, what is there going to be extra salmonella in the egg? Like, what? I didn't understand. Like a salmonella problem. And I was just like, this doesn't make sense. Like, how is there more? Like, if you're, and I mean, I swear, I had all these eggs that were supposed to go back to the store. I ate them all. I had no problems. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, but if it's an egg, like we know that salmonella is on the outside of the egg. I think for the most part. Maybe it's in the middle of these ones. I didn't have a problem. And
this is what happens with any with an average food recall. You get a few reports. Last summer we had it with blueberries from Poland, I think, and there are a few consumers that get ill.
Yeah,
and probably, I mean, I'm not saying that it's a good idea, but probably 99% of the entire batch is still okay. And if you would eat it, nothing happens, because if it were so, then thousands of people, because blueberries from this specific supermarket are consumed a lot in the Netherlands. Really, literally thousands of people would be severely ill, and that was not the case. So.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, we do notice that there's a lot more foodborne recalls on lettuce, spinach, and all the stuff that's packaged. It's kind of it's an interesting thing that's where, and then they blame the cows for people using polluted or tainted water or whatever. It's just ridiculous. I mean,
do you guys have an idea about how much food poisoning happens on non-meat or non-animal sources? Because this is a thing that I would like to look up. I mean, it's a nice argument for a video.
Yeah,
also.
no doubt. I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but I just do know there's way more E. coli on romaine lettuce, spinach, and leafy vegetables that are pre-packaged. And apparently it's the water they're using. I don't know, but it's just, to me, it doesn't make sense. I mean, hey, just stop eating vegetables. No problems. Bam. You're good. Right. And that's good, Charles, too. What did Charles just say? Yeah. Yeah. Wink, wink. That's it. There's a loophole in that. I'm going to say a loophole for the world, not for human consumption. If you want to get raw dairy, say it's for your dog. That's a good.
Same for organ meat, and specifically brain, because brain is not allowed to be sold here because of the prions, of course.
Because it makes people smarter. That's another video we can. Well, that's another topic we'll do. So, guys, we're going to sidetrack here because I want to get into write this down. Just before we do, thanks for all the comments. Thanks for engaging. We really appreciate all this stuff. Please like and subscribe to the channels. Share this with people. Leave a comment if you don't mind, because it does help us on Peter's channel at Dutch Carnivore, my channel at Food for Thought, Question Everything. And we will be going on to Carnivore Evolution with this show. I'm talking to Mark and Victoria about, we're trying to get this maximum exposure, and we're going to be optional, and all that stuff's coming because we're learning. Us being tech savvy it kind of hinders us, but we're going to get into this because today we're going to do some we're going to get into some arguments. Well, we're going to argue with some people, but we got to stand by for this.
These guys are getting richer while you're getting sicker. Write that down. 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 These foods are highly processed, complete garbage, and I can promise you now, I wouldn't even give it to my fucking dog. Write that down.
All right, boys, let's see what we got for this week.
A list of some of the chemicals that's in one of your commonly ate foods, and after you hear them, you're probably not going to eat the food again. It contains aspartic acid, glutamic acid, lysine, phenylalanine. It's even hard to pronounce them. And yes, all these.
Okay, that's enough of that because I want to get into this right now. If you notice, anybody paying attention in the back row there, that those were all amino acids, 2 of which are essential. So that guy, being the young, bright social media expert that he is basically telling you not to eat eggs because the chemicals in there are amino acids that we must consume for life. Now, Mark, I don't know how you feel about that. I loved your response. I didn't want to wait, but if you can hear me, I want to hear what you think about that. Did you hear me? I don't know, Mark's
not sure.
Mark might be internet. Peter, what do you think?
Well, what's this guy talking about eggs? Because I didn't realize, I didn't pay enough attention apparently. But
basically, he was spouting off chemicals in eggs, and they were all amino.
Oh wow!
And 3 of them are essential that he mentioned. So, but it sounds like aspartic acid and glutamic. Like it sounds like, oh yeah, it's aspartame. No, this is not, people. I don't care what you like. If you listen to this shit, like, you got to be very careful, because I was like, when I heard this, I'm like, are you kidding me? These are all like things in a thing. It's not an ingredient. Like, that's the difference. And I think he was trying to say like, oh yeah, people argue about ingredients, but yet this is what's in an egg. And it was just ridiculous. So what do you think?
Yeah, well, I think maybe then if you talk just about this idea of that you shouldn't be able to, or that you should be able to pronounce the ingredients in your food, or that it should only contain a maximum of 1 or 2 or 3 ingredients. And if you take it too literally, then this guy has a point. I mean, obviously, chemicals, also those naturally occurring in nature, can have complicated names. I mean, water has a complicated name if you say it out in full. But yeah, I stopped watching sort of because I saw this big food label and I thought, okay, this guy is talking about, I don't know, a sports supplement or so, or
No,
a
he's talking
sugar-free
about eggs.
soda. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And then Mark comes on and goes and holds up an egg, and he goes like, "Why do we need to worry about what's in here? Like, it's pretty simple." And that kind of ties back into my thoughts on the food matrix. Even in vegetables, there are certain nutrients that are there in certain combinations that, in order to be beneficial or useful, they have to be together, and it's only found in that specific way. So once you start isolating all these things, it's a different ballgame. And I'm not talking about anti-nutrients. I'm just talking about, certain nutrients.
This vitamin C is a good example as well. I mean, it's not a coincidence that it always occurs together with sugar.
Yeah.
Or I should have said it the other way around. Sugar always comes with vitamin C, so it comes together with the antioxidant which you'll need. And with eggs and anything, if you just keep the original food matrix, I'd say that generally speaking, you don't need to worry about it.
Yeah. Now, Peter, you got to pay attention to this one, because we're all going to comment on this. And this sort of ties into what we were talking about the food matrix. So here we go.
We are not obligate carnivores. We are omnivores at an absolute push, but we don't actually need meat either. So technically we're herbivores. Some people are like, yeah, but lions do it. They have to. We don't.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, well, let me just say a short thing that it's just silly to say that since we are omnivores that we have to eat everything. That's just a logical fallacy.
Okay, before Mark goes, because I know he's gonna, I love it. I want you to unload on this one. Okay, herbivores eat specific.
I'm just hoping you can hear me, because my internet is shit.
We can hear you, but
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
you go, Mark. Go.
I'm not sure you can hear me, guys. It's just a bad.
We can hear you.
Signal.
We can hear you. Give her.
You can hear me perfect, yeah?
Yeah. Let her rip.
No, I just think she's an absolute joke.
Yeah.
She really is. She's just absolutely crazy. To say we're omnivores is just unbelievable. Yeah. This is the problem right here. We were never omnivores. We were always carnivores.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Well, you know what? When you take it like that, okay, like there's a couple things I want to just like herbivores. Firstly, herbivores eat specific plants that they have, evolved with, whatever their evolutionary pressures or triggers are. They eat specific plants. They don't eat every plant. So, okay, that logic, we're not herbivores, obviously. Omnivores, well, if we're obligate hypercarnivores, we're omnivorous. That's
that's the thing.
Right? Yeah. That's it. Like, we don't need specifics, but if we're obligate hypercarnivores, we're omnivorous, but we're not omnivores. You know what I mean? And that's where that gets a little logic. But that whole, what she was talking about is just absolute ridiculous, because we do need the nutrition found in meat. So if we need that nutrition found in meat and we are capable of eating meat only, all that shit falls apart. All of it.
Yeah.
I don't care about your teeth. I don't care about your position of your jaw and all the stuff that they argue. We need the nutrition that's in meat. We need it. And it's the most nutrient dense, the most bioavailable. And in plants, that comes with a whole bunch of other complications. So that whole argument is ridiculous. And I don't care if you want to eat plants ethically or religiously. If you want to eat that, and fine, but don't argue that we're not supposed to eat meat. That just doesn't make sense.
You should talk with biologists when it concerns this topic, because every biologist will tell you that omnivorism is most of the times is a survival strategy, and it makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that we are able to eat plants, because if World War III will happen, then at least we have some options, and we will survive it. But with all the animals, if you look around, indeed, not just the herbivores, but also the carnivores and the omnivores, they typically stick to a limited number of foods. And a pig is also a good example. I mean, it's probably a super omnivore, but the only setting where it would eat everything is maybe at a farm where it will receive literally everything, and in nature it wouldn't happen.
and that's a good point, Charles, because do strict carnivores get cavities? I would say no, because they're not, the amylase isn't triggered. The microbiome of their mouth biome is going to be working with you. And that's interesting because we know cavities. I mean, there's the old sugar causes cavities. I think it's deeper than that. I think it's what happens in your mouth. There's a lot of things that go on. But one thing I will verify, and this is people that I've helped, my clients, my family, every single one of them that has gone obligate hypercarnivore, whether they're, full carnivore or just mostly, have resolved gum issues. Teeth have healed, including myself, and their gum disease gone away. Their cavities have stopped. That is 100. And I'm sorry, this is not a fluke, but when I've seen it with about 6 or 7 people, and I had a tooth that I bashed my mouth, and it was like hanging on for life, dear life. And I was like, okay, this is going to come out. And this was 3 years ago. It healed. It got better. I mean, I still had to get work done, but it stopped being so wiggly. And this was like really weird. I was like, holy crap. I thought for sure 2 days later, the tooth would fall out. Then when I talked to the dentist, when he said the x-ray, he's like, it's not even on the bone. I don't know how your tooth is holding on. Like he's like, there's nothing. It's not on the bone anymore. And it's there. And so, you know what I mean? What was it then? Was it my diet? I think absolutely. So that ties into this omnivorous bullshit. You eat some plants and some sugar and see what happens to your teeth. You know what I mean?
I've had a similar experience actually. Now that you talked about this, Tony, and that I also have a slightly wiggly tooth, and my teeth are in quite bad state from the past few decades. So I typically don't open up my mouth widely in public because my teeth are not brilliantly white.
Yeah, I know how that.
But what did change was that despite this bad state that they were in, things improved, and indeed also the gums improved.
Yeah.
So it's not. I mean, it can still bleed if you poke it hard, or if of course it can still do those things. Yeah. But not just instantly, and I think it has to do with the microbiome as well, because it's not about not eating sweets at all, or fruit or those things. If nowadays I would eat an orange, because sometimes I do, then that doesn't pose a problem. And of course I'll rinse my mouth, and even a thing like sauerkraut would probably be okay if you take care and maybe combine it with dairy or so.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, I eat sauerkraut, but I'm telling you, man, like I've seen it, like my dentist, when I had these things done, because I had to, I was like my mouth, and it was not because of the diet. It was because of decades of neglect and shit. And he told me I had some kind of bone deterioration thing, but he said your gums are bullet that this is quoting from my dentist. He's ripping open my gums, cutting into this stuff. And he's like, your gums are bulletproof. And I was like, what does that mean? He's like, well, that's good for you. It's bad for me because he's having a tough time trying to get, and that's not a coincidence. And I mean, when I've had clients that they wanted to lose some weight, and then their gums heal. And they're like, my gum disease is gone. The periodontist is like, I don't understand what's happening to you. You're in your 60s and your gum health is getting younger.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? And these are all these non-scale victories that are resolved around it. So, and that ties into omnivory, like, you know.
And the funny thing, by the way, is once those things improve, let's say the base level of health is higher, then you get time and to spend on the details, because the time, and you'll notice it also more easily because everything is okay, and then you'll see like, okay, maybe also brushing my tongue in the morning is good to get rid of bad bacteria, or sleeping with your mouth closed, that sort of things that will all help, and brushing your teeth. I don't know if I do it once a day, that's a lot.
Yeah.
In terms of at least with toothpaste.
Well, I mean,
I do clean my mouth more often, but
I think there's a couple things that go on with this stuff. Is like, I know my bad breath doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it's just with a little bit. And I usually rinse with salt. Like I usually gargle salt. And I've got like one of those water to get into the teeth. And my dental hygiene now is way better than it was when I was in my 20s and 30s, 100%. But I notice these things when it comes to breathing, doing breath work with my nasal breathing. It has to have some kind of benefit in my mouth. And it's like, this is all something that eating meat, I breathe better. I'm just, everything is like, my snoring is way less. Like I might cause a little bit of, sleep snoring, but not ravenous, horrible, noisy snoring. It's not thundering loud. And I mean, it's all tied into this. And I think when you start the healing process, I mean, and we talked about gut health earlier. Well, our microbiome's everywhere. We have bacteria everywhere. And I don't think we're supposed to be sterile. I think we're supposed to be, like, and I don't even use toothpaste anymore. I brush sometimes with baking soda and I do coconut oil pulling. And it seems
that's a good one.
It seems to be fine. And I mean, and my gums don't bleed. I always had bleeding gums my whole life. And it was, it wasn't scurvy, and now it's like
all these things that you mentioned, those small things, it takes effort and discipline. And in the past, I would start doing oil pulling for a few days. I would buy a jar of coconut oil, but after 1 week, 2 at most, I would stop because I didn't see too much of an effect. And I can name a lot of other things like brushing my tongue, the water cleaning system for your teeth, flossing. I wouldn't do it because it wasn't rewarding. And if I go to the bathroom 1 time a day and do a bit of flossing or oil pulling, for example, I'm not doing that, by the way, right now, but just as an example, I would see benefits because I am able to see them now. But in the past, they were hidden by all the other, not really issues, but let's say overall health was, oral health was less.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think, when we're talking, I'd love to hear what everybody else thinks about this. If you're out there, chime in. I want to know what you do for your dental care, because I don't use now tooth floss. I don't know about that wax plastic shit that's floss. I don't trust it. And we're putting it in between our teeth. There's got to be some abrasiveness. There might be some open. I don't know. I would say it's probably better to use, I don't know what the chemicals are on a wooden toothpick, but I use the water now. Like I use a water jet just to kind of clean and rinse my mouth. But I mean, I'm very conscious about this toothpaste. Read the ingredients. It's unnecessary. I think, I'm going to make my own toothpaste, but I've just been using, the baking soda and if you need to put some peppermint essential oil, Charles uses wooden toothpicks. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's probably a better bad case scenario with wooden toothpicks, because I'm sure there's chemicals in there that they use, but I don't trust that dental floss is. I don't even trust the dentist, the dental industry, to be honest with you. I think it's all, in my opinion, it's all smoke.
It's quite obvious if they add fluoride in it and talk about the benefits. Okay, so maybe it is beneficial for your teeth, but please consider all the other aspects of it as well and be open about it. And that shows what their intentions are. They are focused on the teeth and probably a bit more than just that.
Yeah, no doubt.
But nothing else.
But but they're definitely in it. Like it's and in Canada anyway, it's so expensive. Like, I just had $4,000 of work done in my teeth, and I mean, it was to be honest, quite brutally honest, it was cosmetic. I wanted to get I don't know if you've noticed there's the difference now, but I mean, I was okay, and I was in so much pain 6 years ago. I was like, oh my God, my mouth is a mess. I don't know what's going to happen to me. Now, it took 5 years of my mouth I wasn't in pain. I'd never, all of a sudden, all my tooth pain, all the problems went away, and I could deal with it. And I was like, okay, well, now I can invest when I'm ready, as opposed to it was amazing. And I know that has everything to do with my diet. That has, it's not a question.
And talking about pain, I had that as well. Before Carnivore, for several years, and I'm just 40 years old, but for several years I started to have the first symptoms of periodontitis.
Yeah.
with the gums receding a bit. And it could also be painful here in the lower teeth in front, because at some point it exposes everything. I mean, it wasn't not that bad, but with carnivore, I don't experience that pain anymore. It's not like the gums went all the way back, of course, but things are good again, stable.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not. If I'm lying, I'm dying, Peter. When I turned 40, everything started going to shit. Like that was, from my point, my eyes went, my pain, everything was like, and that was kind of like around 41, 42. I was like, okay, if I don't do something, this is old. This is what happens. Like breaking down, couldn't move, and it changed. This all happened, and it is 100% diet. Like, a diet let me live. Diet brought me back to life, I should say. And I mean, it's unquestionable. And go ahead, eat your plant-based shitty diet. Do it. I don't care. But don't tell me that we're doing stuff wrong. And that's where I have a problem with the carnivore space, is all the people that don't do it tell us how bad we are. And when it's not good for us, it's bad for the planet. When it's not the planet, it's bad for the animals. When it's bad, it's like, that's when I have a big problem. And I'm sorry, but I just did an interview with one of my clients because I wanted her story. She's 68 years old. She feels younger. She feels rejuvenated. She feels like she's reversing. She completely reversed her glaucoma. She's completely, like, her gum disease is gone. And people are saying how she's doing it wrong. Like, that's what I have a problem with. And I mean, I know all the carnivores out there will jump up and stuff, but I mean, I think that might be our message, is to, like, just listen, and stop the madness. Stop trying to think. Like, and now even everybody's starting to go, okay, we know vegan diets aren't healthy. I mean, obviously you can have a healthier vegan diet if you know what you're doing. I don't think it's impossible to do. And why you're doing it should not be because it's healthiest. That's all,
And I think, I hope that a thing like the Healing Humanity documentary is going to make changes on that point, because if people browse the internet and look on YouTube, and they'll see two guys in their grayish living rooms telling a story, of course, and then in the comments you'll read all this skepticism from passers-by and those things. So a good, convincing story in video format on Netflix or who knows where, that would make a lot of difference.
No shit. And I just really hope people listen, because that there's going to be that other side pushback. And I mean, if you watch the Game Changers, it's very, very compelling. Like if with the production value and all that shit, people, I mean, shit, I watched it and I was like, well, maybe it's, but then when you start dismantling all this, the things, you just know it's complete and utter nonsense. And Jiffy, thanks for chiming in too. Before carnivore, terrible dental problems and not been to no reason. I love it. Yeah, no reason at all. Hey, just happened to magically resolve all this shit, and we don't know why. I don't know. I don't understand. It's quite fascinating, and and that's what I'm about. Is I'm a carnivore. I do my version of the carnivore diet, but when I started this, and I actually started my YouTube channel and started it, I just wanted to holy shit, like, this is happening to me. And it's so funny how I'm in this glory, feeling just amazing on the top of the world. And every single one of my friends, well, not every single one, but most of my friends and family were like, are you sure about this? You can't be that good. And it's like, what? Like, just get off your programmed, indoctrinated little high horse and just think about it. Take a little thing and think about it. Start with protein, right? And I mean, Peter, from a type 1 diabetic standpoint, like, you're breaking all the rules.
It helps me a lot, actually, especially outside of social media. If you tell people that you're doing this because of your blood sugar regulation, then they become much more gentle on you. They don't start to attack the carnivore diet. It's always the underlying problem that on your YouTube handle or your TikTok name, they'll see the label carnivore, and they'll think like it's just this, just like these high school or sports guys that from one day to the other try this diet for 3 weeks. That's what they think.
No doubt. No doubt. And that we're probably going to wind it up today, but that's the thing that we're trying to do, everybody. And thank you for being here. Thanks for all the question and the comments. Like, nobody listens to me. I hear you. Well, that's probably why we have each other, Charles, because like we're all in this, together. And, we know what goes on. And it's undeniable. It's unquestionable that there is a species specific diet. And you want to argue till the cows come home, no pun intended, on what it is, go for it. But, and quite often people wait till they're desperate. And that's what this message, what Peter and I and Mark are trying to do, is just give another opinion. And I know a lot of this stuff might be repeated, but I think when we put it into real life, practical terms, real stories, one person at a time, like the Justice League, man. Batman taught Flash, go save one person at a time. If one person hears this that may not understand or know things, that opens them up to getting into it, because that's the other thing. It's in our own hands. If you do not take your health in your own hands, and I'm not, we're not doctors or scientists. We say that quite often, but if you put your trust in an organization or an institution that is designed to profit off your sickness, where do you think you're going to end up? So this is the problem. No, Jiffy, you don't, man. We really do appreciate it. Thank you for all that support as well. Like we're just normal guys that are all, kind of our own, we've come into this our own way. And it's been a pleasure hooking up with Peter and Mark, because I think we're all like-minded. We all have our own ways, but very, very similar mindset. And what our stories are very similar as well. A lot of issues that have been resolved. And, we just thought we'd get together and share it with everybody. So saying that, appreciate all your comments today, guys. We appreciate the engagement. We are here live Sundays, 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. in the UK and Ireland. Sometimes Mark has a shoddy internet. We forgive him because the Irish way. And 7 p.m. in the Netherlands and surrounding Europe. Peter, any last things? And just tell people where they can find you.
Not so much. You can find me on Dutch Carnivore on all the platforms.
And we appreciate the multi signups, guys, because we're going to be trying to get onto other platforms. And Mark can be found on Fitness Beyond Time 01 on Instagram and TikTok. Also, Mark does the Carnivore Evolution podcast that he's just started the channel on YouTube. If you want to go and subscribe to that, he does great one-on-ones with long form interviews with fantastic people that have done great things, and also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I know you can find Mark at fitnessbeyondtime01.com if you're interested in working with them. And you can find me on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Tony_Food for Thought. Of course, if you're watching it on Food for Thought Question Everything channel. And if you're interested in talking to me or working with me, find me on TonyStewartCoaching.com. I come from a pragmatic, very, nuanced way. It's not all or nothing. It's finding people. I believe people are a puzzle. And once you start figuring it out, it's about what you can do, take the power back, and empower you to find your way. And I think that's a message of what we all preach on this show. And we just really appreciate you being here and joining us today. And we will see you next week. And thanks to Byron Carnivore Beats. Make sure you're signing up on his channel, because these beats are sick. I swear, man. He just did this reggae jam that was insane. Check it out. If you want to go work out, carnivore style, meat fueled, do it.